I'm recording. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to our latest in our series, in Friendship Places series of issue briefings, where we talk about some of our programs and share information about the work we're doing. This day, we are very fortunate to be joined by Jonathan Whitted of our Veterans First program. And this has been a really interesting series and a great opportunity to learn more about what we're doing and give you an opportunity to ask questions about some of our programs. And so, as always, if you want to have a question, just drop it in the chat. These are always meant to be more casual conversations. And so, this is a great opportunity for you to learn all there is that you might wish to learn. I'll do a reminder now and then another at the end. We are doing a happy hour to celebrate our 30th anniversary, and that is next Thursday from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Graham at Georgetown. I know for a fact that everyone on this call has received the invitation at least once or twice. So please, by all means, if you're free, come join us. It is a great opportunity to celebrate all that we've been a part of. And it's not just the staff here at Friendship Place, it's all of you who have made this work possible. So I'm going to toss to Jean-Michel, who will in turn toss to Jonathan. And Jean-Michel, over to you.
Well, thank you, Chris, for facilitating the call again this time. And welcome to all of you to this webinar on our veteran services. We appreciate your support, and we have a great speaker for you today, Jonathan Whitted, who is the Division Director at Veterans First. A little bit of history about our work with veterans. It actually goes back further than services when we organized a veterans symposium at one of our supporting congregations, and it was so well attended that Tom Nermi, who was a trustee of the William A. Sable Foundation, approached me shortly thereafter to offer to fund a veterans initiative for us. It would be an advocacy initiative. We went back and forth. He was convinced that we were the ones who should do it, and we accepted, even though we're not professional advocates at Friendship Place. But this is before veteran services came to the level they're at now. The city, the region, and even the country needed more coordination. So our part with our veterans advocate, Jeff Millard, was to work on DC and DC Metro, with some contacts, of course, on the Hill and so on, and some advocacy at the national level with VA. It led us to really get connected with the cause. The veterans cause is a very important one for us. People who have served their countries should not fall into homelessness. And as we became more aware of the many facets of the issue of homelessness among veterans, we decided to get involved and start to serve in supportive services for veterans' families. That is the name of the program at the national level that VA started to fund during the Obama administration. We know that the First Lady and Mrs. Biden were very active supporting DoD service members and veterans and their families. And this program came from the administration at that time. A little bit about how we got involved. Very small in the beginning, as we like to start all our programs, one position. Now you'll hear from Jonathan that we have many positions, and I don't want to take away from what you're going to say, Jonathan. You have all the details, but we're serving at the regional level. So from one grant one year at $70,000 through another nonprofit in the district, the next year we bid on $1 million contract with VA to serve the region, and VA gave it to us, and we have had a wonderful partnership with VA. The model, in my eyes, is extremely well researched. It was done by Dennis Culhane at the University of Pennsylvania, hired by the VA to develop this model. And we have taken a really leadership position at the national level with the SSVF team run by John Kuhn. We have been on panels with John. The staff have served at different conferences. We have been trainers at the Mid-Atlantic level, and always instrumental in helping VA build the model, so that one day at a conference a few years ago, John Kuhn told me that we were the best SSVF program in the country, which of course we have been very, very proud of. Again, this is a great model. It's very effective. It really puts the veterans first, which is at the core of all our service delivery at Friendship Place. And then I'll end with this. It really brought rapid rehousing to the forefront. Before this, in the system, in homeless services in the US, rapid rehousing was part of the system, but was not getting the attention it needed, and was not the first model that you offer somebody if it works for them, because of course it's a hand up. People can graduate from it and move on to the rest of their lives without support. VA is the entity that brought rapid rehousing to the forefront and gave it the credibility it deserves, since it's a great model. So over to you, Jonathan.
Thank you so much for allowing me to come in and talk about our program. And thanks for the introduction, Jean-Michel and Chris. So yes, just to, I guess, go over a little bit about our program. As Jean-Michel has mentioned, we are a rapid rehousing program for veterans. In doing this, we help the literally homeless individuals within the DC metro area. That's DC and then 8 surrounding counties within Virginia and in Maryland. But helping those who are literally homeless and those who are at risk of becoming homeless in the area. Just tailoring our services around the needs of the veteran population, and how can we give them that short-term assistance in order to get them to housing stability faster. We have a staff of about 35 folks right now. We're actually starting to hire more. And with that, we have a team of case managers, and we have also a team of specialists that we call them. And the specialist team are comprised of a housing navigator, a employment specialist, and 3 outreach staff, and also a benefits specialist. So they're with, not only are we helping individuals with case management and helping them into getting into housing, and helping them find ways to connect with our resources that will help them maintain that housing, but we're also bringing in this team of specialists that will then help them with other needs that will help them get to that stability too as well. And that's something that we've tailored based off of what we see in the needs are. I know Jean-Michel has mentioned this. This is something that, we've talked with the VA too, and talked with other SSVF programs about the kind of things that they've been doing in the community, and seeing like, how can we continue to take that leadership role? How can we continue to be kind of that leader for other SSVF programs and for other community partners as we continue to help this population. Some of the new changes that have come have been because of course, the pandemic, which we've all seen has changed a lot of things in the community for a lot of people, especially the population that we serve. And with this, the VA came up with another initiative in order to help folks that, might be struggling with healthcare resources or healthcare needs, might not be able to get connected to the vaccine, things of that nature. And having a healthcare navigator was something that kind of that new initiative, kind of like being innovative, how they could tackle that. How can we help give the participants some help with the healthcare resources? So we do have someone on staff that we've been able to figure out ways to tailor her skill set, kind of the needs of and seeing kind of what the needs of the people that we're serving on with our team right now, and seeing like, how could she be better support with the case managers, with the participants. And we've seen a lot of success in this. Our healthcare navigator is someone who's looked at as a leader with other healthcare navigators within the region. We have been instrumental in figuring out ways to get connected with the VA Medical Center in order to help veterans get the vaccine and helping connect them to appointments. We've also created a healthcare resource guide that we've been able to share with the team and with other community partners. So just trying to make sure that we're giving all the needs that attention, especially with healthcare during this time. Another thing that has been a big change for us has been a new initiative, which is Subsidy, which is different from the kind of the services that we have been doing traditionally. The rapid rehousing model, with that, we've kept individuals on an average of 90 days, sometimes a little longer, in order to give them the short-term financial assistance, case management, and then helping them connect with community resources, and then them exiting from there once they're able to maintain on their own. But given that this is such a high rent market area, the VA kind of noticed that DC and other locations like San Francisco, New York, there might be a need to have like an extra boost, extra support. So with that, they gave a select few grantees the Shallow Subsidy grant, and we were able to get that. And so because we proved that we've been able to handle things like this before, and initiatives like this, that they trusted this with us, and we found a lot of success in that too as well. The participants have been able to greatly succeed out of this. We had someone who actually was able to purchase a home from actually getting assisted through this program. And just a little bit of how it works. So basically, we have individuals who are in SSVF. They're getting traditional rapid rehousing services instead of something where you're paying either like the full rent or scaling it to what to like a certain like need given the situation. You're going through and you're having a set amount, which is 35% of fair market rent that the agency is providing. And then the participant is actually then paying the rest. But in that time, they're giving up to 2 years in order to see if there's ways that we can help them increase their income. And this is supposed to help with the high rent burden that comes within this areas like this. And so we've seen individuals be able to increase their income. We've seen with given a little bit extra time of assistance, they've been able to connect with senior housing. Yeah, we've seen that some individuals have been able to figure out like new ways to kind of to get other resources, either whether it's healthcare resources or whether it's VA service connected benefits, things of that nature. So just seeing that they've been able to create more stability with this. And this is a way too, during this pandemic, to give people extra assistance and be able to help people, more individuals on our traditional rapid rehousing caseloads as well. And this was something that was shared with the whole community. So it wasn't just participants that were enrolled with us. There were participants that were enrolled with other SSVF programs that were able to utilize this assistance. So this was something that really contributed to a lot of individuals all around. And with all of these things, I think that, we're also looking through to the future too. So not only have we been working with to help individuals during the pandemic when things were, kind of happening, but also how can we lead out of the pandemic, knowing that so many people have lost so many resources. There's been loss of job, loss of income. There's going to be a wave of evictions that could be coming. So how do we help with that? And not everyone is eligible for SSVF. Well, we actually applied to a grant with TCP, and which allowed us to take on more prevention services. So this is a way that now we can work with the community. And if there's individuals that they may not be eligible for SSVF, or other SSVF programs might not be able to take them on to do case management, maybe caseloads are full, or maybe someone's going to need mortgage assistance, which is something that SSVF can't typically do. This is something that we want to get ahead of so we can help those individuals, so there's no one's falling through the cracks. So this is just another way that we've been able to help individuals and see and make sure that not only are we serving the people who are eligible veterans under SSVF, but also other veterans who may not be able to get this assistance. And this is something that we're going to have and run with until November of next year. And we're going to be able to continue to give people financial assistance, or to prevent eviction or any other loss of resources that could cause housing instability.
Great. I mean, it sounds like you're doing so much. Once again, if anyone has any questions, please place them in the chat. I guess I have a couple I would start with. Apologies if you may have already covered this. So how many different veterans are we presently serving? And I guess, how is that compared to years past? And how do we think that's going to compare to the next couple of years?
Yeah, so well, you mean like different veterans that we're serving? Do you mean like different demographics, or just
number of cases we're serving right now?
Yeah. So each year we serve, I would say on average, anywhere between 550 to 600 individuals each year. And that's through both our renewal and search grants, which serves traditional SSVF and also this child subsidy that I mentioned.
Mm-hmm. So do we think that you had mentioned that with the evictions coming up,
Sure.
Think that that's going to grow, or I guess there's no reason to think that won't impact vets just as much as it impacts others. So we think that there's potential more people maybe coming our way?
That's a good question. So there's no indication of how many individuals that this could affect. I do know that the people that we serve are just like anyone else, in the sense that you fall into the same situations when it comes to loss of resources during times like this. I mean, we've had people who they've normally been able to sustain housing on their own, but because they lost their job, and this is the first time this has happened, they've been in this situation. So with hopefully, this is we're being more precautionary, and this isn't something that will affect so many individuals, but it's good to be prepared. Hopefully, if it does happen, I think that we will be equipped. Us and other community partners will be equipped to help the individuals. I think that there's been a lot of resources put into prevention services, so that if things like this do happen. And one thing I will say is that too is that one thing I love about our organization, our division too, is that we're always being creative. We're always thinking ahead. So just knowing those things and seeing that that could be an issue was something that we talked about, months and months ahead of time.
And it does have to be very hard to plan for such unclear. I mean, we know something's coming, but you hear numbers in some instances, 45% increase, and then you hear other people say that no, that's not going to be as high as it is, and we just simply we won't know until we know, and because there's so much uncertainty. There were a couple of questions in the chat, and I also have a couple of follow-up on my own, but I'll go to the chat. And Michael asked, what what's the interconnection between Veterans First and other divisions? So how do you all work together?
Yeah, great question. So it could vary. So someone could go to the Welcome Center. I'm just using them as an example. And they could be a veteran. I think there was another, like a other day, like somebody from Welcome Center, wanted me to check and see if someone was a veteran. And if that person was, would we be able to assist with housing? Or maybe that person might just need some, veteran resources. I know there's been times I've gone to the Welcome Center and the person was a veteran. They didn't need housing resources, but they needed help with something else. And we connect with so many different partners in the community and nationally that's something that we collect resources and we collect these partnerships for a reason, so then we can be able to pass that information to others in the community, whether they're going to be enrolled with us or not. There's been other programs, Aim Higher, that we've worked with before. And just if there's somebody that I remember that Aim Higher actually came, to our office and did a hiring event, and it was a situation where this person that we had on our caseload actually wanted to connect with the employer that was there. So if there's somebody who could actually benefit from the employment resources that Aim Higher has. We have an employment specialist as well. That person actually has resources too. They share with Aim Higher too as well. So just having that connection between the different programs I think is beneficial. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen, and I think that there's a lot of crossover with the different demographics and populations that we serve.
Thank you. Also in the chat, Chris K had asked, you confirming that the shallow subsidy runs through November of 22 or 21?
So shallow subsidy is something that's going to be ongoing. The TCP KP prevention funds that we just received, that is actually going to be going until November 2022.
Gotcha. You had mentioned the connection with Aim Higher. So one coming out of the military, there's a certain degree of training that goes on in the military that gives you, do you find that the skills people come out of the military with makes it easier, more difficult to get a job? How does that, what sort of jobs are people looking for? What are they qualified for? What are they looking for?
Yeah. I any skills that you learn is a benefit. So I think that our experiences do help in like molding us, and some of those experiences are things that we learn that are skills that we can use in the employment field. Some of those experiences could like necessarily be something that create challenges for us too as well, and that's all of us, not just veterans. I think that the things that you see from individuals coming out of the military into I guess into civilian life is that the skills are transferable.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a question. They can do the jobs. The problem is that employers expect that there's some sort of credentials or some sort of experience that you have in the civilian world. So if you came out of high school and you went into the military, you could have had an engineering job, but you don't have the degree. So then you come out, and then some companies, they want to see that someone has a degree, and it's like, is that really necessary? This person can do the work. So I think finding employers that are able to look past that.
Mm-hmm.
If there's some sort of training you want someone to do, maybe that could be helpful, but also like just knowing if someone can do the job, just trusting in them. Also, and this happens to individuals who come out of college who didn't go into the military, you come into certain interviews and they're looking for, you give your resume, you might not have experience yet. Well, how do you get experience? You have to get hired.
Right.
So, veterans, they have the same type of challenges. If you hear we're here to help veterans, but which technically they're not lying, but they're also here to help specific veterans with the experience or veterans with the degree. So that I feel like that's kind of the trouble when you run into working with certain employers. Yeah.
In general, philosophically, are employers predisposed to helping veterans? I mean, PR wise, that has to be beneficial to them, one would think, but are they open to that or more supportive of that?
Yeah. I think you can. I think what employers, what they try to do, I think they do want to help veterans, but I think it's kind of what I was saying before. I think it's an issue where understanding that even though you want to help veterans, you need to be open to all veterans, not just specific veterans who fit a certain category, who have like certain things that are certain resources, because this person may come out of the military and they may not have all the experience with certain companies that you're looking for, or they may not have that degree that you're looking for either. The same thing happens with certain housing. You'll see, veterans are welcome, but what about a veteran with bad credit though? What about a veteran with low income? Like, you're looking for specific veterans. You're looking for someone. So you're really, it's like in a way, it's like you're not looking for veterans. You're just looking for someone that has good credit and income. That's really what you're looking for, not necessarily the veteran. So I think that you're seeing a lot of people kind of savvy to some of these things now, and hopefully this will make a change in the attitude and kind of the way people are go to help and be more accepting of others. But I do think that that's still like kind of a challenge.
I know, and Jean-Michel, if you don't mind unmuting yourself, we have a new grant for vets at Aim Higher. Can you talk a little bit about that? Jean-Michel, if you can unmute yourself.
Yes, well, we're excited to announce this month that we have been approved for a grant from the Department of Labor. So this is federal funding, and it's funding for job placement for veterans. So we are launching it this month. We're actually screening people to work in the grant. It's going to be serving the tri-state area, Maryland, Virginia, and DC. And it will be a team of probably about 4 people at Aim Higher. So this is separate from Jonathan's division. And we decided to put it at Aim Higher because it's strictly for job placement. But we're really excited to have this first-time grant to provide these employment services for veterans. And I wanted to share the good news with everybody on the call.
Thank you. Very, very, very great news. Jonathan, what sort of psychological challenges do some of the vets that we're serving come with that we need to overcome to successfully secure housing and successfully secure employment? Are there, and how do we do so?
Yeah, well, there's array of things. Not one person's the same as another. There may be like similarities in situations or experiences, or different things that create a challenge for someone as they're trying to access housing. But what I would say is that even though the experiences may be different, because someone who may not have been in the military may not have experienced certain things the same way, when it comes to like some of like the psychological like trauma that you could go through, veterans are no different from individuals who may have had like psychological trauma outside. The experience of how it happened may be different, but and this is something that, you know, we always come to, you know, just because you have the certain trauma that you do, just because you may have like certain barriers, that doesn't mean that you know, can't access housing. That doesn't mean that you can't be successful with housing. And so it's just understanding that. So maybe there might be some differences in how that trauma occur, and in the way that that trauma presents itself could be different. But you can access housing just like anyone else can. And it's just taking the time to work with that person and seeing how what's best for them to maintain. And I think that's something that that, you know, we've seen that works. And you know, everyone, you know, has things and, you know, challenges and barriers that
Mhm.
they work with. And you know, there's a lot of people who are able to sustain housing with a lot of trauma. There are a lot of veterans with trauma who don't come, you know, through these doors, or don't need the assistance. They're able to sustain housing with that trauma. So it's just understanding that, yes, that everyone's unique, working with everyone in the way that best works with them, but knowing that they can access housing just like anyone else can.
And that's a great point. I think so often we hear veteran and there's a stereotype in mind of PTSD or other sort of, you know, injury, whether it be emotional, psychological, physical. But you're right, it's they're no different than any other part of the population and community we serve. It's just a matter of what's the driving cause. So thank you. That's a very good point. So in general, what are the age demographics in terms of who we're serving? Are we talking still a lot of Vietnam vets? Are we more Persian Gulf? Are we talking more second Persian Gulf? Where do people tend to have, where folks, when have people served?
Yeah, so we're still seeing around like 30 to 60. And so around, you know, Vietnam, pre-Vietnam era, or excuse me, post-Vietnam era veterans.
Mhm.
So a lot of the population that we've seen this year has been kind of middle-aged to elderly.
Interesting.
And I think that's a trend that that I see. I think the reason partly of that is that you know, in the past there wasn't as many services for individuals in general, especially for veterans. So a lot of those folks are, you know, since there's a lot more availability for these resources, a lot of those folks who need that assistance that they may have been missing out for many years.
So do these folks also face a degree of age discrimination when it comes to employment, and that's
Oh yeah, for sure. And this isn't something that, you know, I haven't seen firsthand, but you know, I've heard stories.
Mhm.
The people that you're working with will tell you some of the things that they're facing. And you know, some will have, you know, situations where you know, they'll come in, they'll interview, or they'll apply, and then they'll show that they have like a very long resume. So then to show that they have a lot of experience, but then like they've been then told like, well, you have, seems like you're too overqualified for this position.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard stories of, you know, everything was fine until I came into the interview, and I think they discriminated on my age. So,
Mhm.
yeah, this is something that definitely occurs too. And you know, thankfully, this doesn't happen for everyone.
Mhm.
And some of those challenges, you know, people are able to work through, and you know, we've been able to find employment for some of our older vets as well.
Very good. No, and yeah, I mean, as we're looking at older vets, that is a challenge, but I'm glad to hear that you're able to, you know, overcome that in so many instances. Looking at a question from Victoria in the chat, is there segregated funding for veteran rehousing, or do they compete with all of the homeless in the DMV? So what sort of direct, you know, specific vet funding is there?
Yeah, so our grant comes through the VA. Other programs are not vet oriented, they have other different funding sources. So it's different. And then the other SSVF programs who are also funded through the VA, they get their own separate set of money or funds they use. So we're lucky in that, you know, we don't have to necessarily compete too much for different funding sources. You know, the VA kind of sees that need, and they recognize that, you know, us and our other community partners that work with the VA, that we all need to work together in order to end veteran homelessness in this area.
And with the new-ish administration, is there any sign of increase, decrease interest in serving veterans? Where do we stand nationally on that?
Yeah, so luckily this is a bipartisan issue. Everyone, you know, thinks it's important to help, you know, the veteran population. So we haven't seen any change in, you know, that, I guess, in that initiative, in that thought process. Everybody thinks that that's, you know, it's an important thing. And yeah, we've been able to continuously do this work. And from what I've seen, it's only just been getting more innovative, more supportive. There's always new things that are coming across, and there's always like new information coming out about how we could better serve the population.
Very good. We talked about age breakdown in the people we serve. What's the gender breakdown? How many men, how many women,
Yeah.
percentage-wise?
Yeah. We see more males. I don't know you know, why that is, but we typically see more males in our program. So if it to be like precise with the demographic, I would say African American males, like I said, between, you know, like 40 to 60, somewhere around there.
And what is the breakdown of a number of cases that have children versus individual single cases?
Yeah, we get more individuals than families. So I would say that we're probably about like maybe like 70% individuals versus families at this point. Roughly.
How many children total do we have it roughly in our Veterans First program?
Yeah. So children is probably, families with children is probably a little less. I would say that we're probably around, probably of the families we see, probably that's probably like 20% maybe, that those families have children, maybe a little lower than that. So mostly when we have families, we'll see that there'll be and I'm talking about, you know, dependent children. Maybe there might be like an older child in the household, or it would be like just married couple, or, you know, girlfriend, boyfriend, friends. So for the VA, typically a family is just anyone that's a part of your household. So they, in order to be accommodating, and knowing that, you know, people need that support, they know that, you know, the family dynamic or the idea of the family is a lot broader than just, you know, parents and dependent children.
Do the children then that, you know, who are in those families, are there needs that they have that may differ from needs of children who aren't the children of veterans? And is there something special that they're facing, some difficulty?
No, I don't think there's anything that's necessarily like vastly different, other than the fact that individuals who have dependent children, it's a lot harder to find housing for those individuals because they need a lot more space. And there's a need for more income and other resources too. So childcare, so the parents can be able to go to work. being able to access enough food, other supplies for the house. Yeah, so, and also, once again, like having an accommodating space. I think those are like the biggest needs that you see that's different from like the two different household types.
But there aren't particular psychological or emotional difficulties that children of veterans may face because of their parents having served.
Not from what I've seen. So, and this is something that, we don't deal too much with going through with assessing like mental health with a lot of our participants. Of course, that's something that is, volunteered information, but it's not a requirement in order to be in our program that you release any of that information, especially not but with with your children. A lot of people, like they'll at least mention that someone may have a disability, but not necessarily because the parents were in the military or anything like that. When we do get information that somebody may need mental health services or some other like healthcare resources, then we may ask those questions in order to connect that person with the appropriate services. But we're not mental health professionals, so we tend to leave that up to the experts.
Victoria has a question in the chat. How long does Friendship Place provide supportive services to veterans once they're in housing? Is there a time when you consider a veteran established and thus in no longer in need of our services?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are a 90-day program, and we typically say we'll help you find housing within 30 days. And then that remaining time of those 90 days, we're helping connect you with the resources you need in order to exit successfully. Now, that looks different for everyone. There are definitely people that we've kept on a little longer, especially during this pandemic. From the VA, we've gotten, we've gotten the idea that people, since they're going to be needing services longer because of the situation they're going through within the pandemic, that maybe it'd be better if we look at keeping individuals enrolled a little longer. And that's something that, each individual working with them. So we have like a 90-day stability plan that we can renew if we need to. We can recert individuals if we need to. And then from there, we're kind of figuring out, okay, well, you're at this level right now. This is, you may be in housing, but you're not quite ready to be exited. But what are some things that we could work on that will get you there? And then it's figuring out from there what their goals are, what are things that's important for them to work on. And then it's helping them, make that happen. So it varies. Some individuals that we may have with us for 6 months. Some individuals it may be maybe 9. But then there's been cases where we've had some veterans who all they wanted was their security deposit and first month's rent. They're good. They didn't need anything else. They'll say, I have a job that's starting this month and I'm going to get paid the following in the next 2 weeks. So yeah, they don't need too much assistance with us. So it varies, but it's based off of what's best for the veteran household.
Anne asks in the chat, and yeah, this is very interesting. There is a claim in certain cities. In fact, I believe here in Montgomery County, we make this claim that veteran homelessness is functionally zero. How is that real? I mean, how are they playing with numbers? Is that truly there are 0 homeless vets? And again, I think Montgomery County makes that claim.
That is a very, very good question. So functional zero doesn't mean there are no homeless individuals that you will never see at any given time. That there are still going to be individuals who are facing homelessness. Functional zero just means that there are the proper things set in place that now communities are able to handle the situation if someone were to become homeless. So each community has a certain number of individuals, if they've created a by name list of how many individuals are homeless within that region, that then they can work towards getting those individuals into housing. But if you're saying that now we can get that number to a very low level, that there's actually more resources, housing resources, that we could connect those individuals with, and then we could quickly get them into housing within a certain period, then we can claim functional zero, because now it's saying that we have the resources to help all those individuals into housing. And that doesn't mean that it's going to be someone else who's going to become homeless, but now there's going to be something in place where that person can easily then be identified, get connected with the proper program or housing resources, and then they can get into housing quickly. So communities like Montgomery County have been able to set that process into play, and they have those things set, so then they are able to help individuals get back into housing quicker. So that's why they've been able to claim functional zero.
So it sounds like a term of art more than gotcha. One question we in development always like to ask is, what role, what is it that private funding can do to enhance what, say, the VA provides? So,
Sure.
what a vet really needs, and and again, this is not knocking the VA, it's just, all grants come with certain limitations, right? And so what is it that the VA provides, and then what is it that makes things really successful and special? And that delta is what is private funding. So what is that delta?
Yeah, for sure. So there are tons of things that the SSVF grants and this program can do for people financially. But then there are things that we cannot. There are gaps. And so with private funding, we're able to fill some of those gaps because there's a unique population with a lot of unique challenges. And with that, not everybody is, cookie cutter situation. Everything can fit into the category of the boxes that's rolled out into our grant. And then you have to get creative, which is, something that, once again, our organization is great at doing, getting creative. But with that, you do have to have, very flexible, creative funding sources sometimes. And sometimes that comes through private funds. So then we can be able to help individuals with things that SSVF grant can't. I know I mentioned the TCP Kaiser prevention funds that we were able to get. With that, we can help people with mortgage assistance. That's something that the SSVF grant cannot do. Private funds can, though. So, what do you do when you come into a situation where, someone is a veteran, but they say, I can't pay my mortgage and, I'm going to lose my housing. That's someone that we don't want to turn away. So that's something that, private funds can go a long way for. There are certain things that there's a cap for. There is a cap for car repair. There's a cap for rental assistance. There's a cap for security deposit. And private funds can, once again, fill those gaps. So we're not leaving anyone behind.
Very good. What sort of household items are things that, our private funds help to provide? What do people need that they're not getting that private funds can help provide?
Yeah. So with the grant, we can't do certain household items like pots, pans, things like that. Can't do furniture other than a bed. So we can actually cover bed, but we are moving into a new place. You're going to need more than a bed. People need kitchen table. They're going to need sofa, things like that. And these are things that we've been able to get assistance with private funds with at times. And it's been very helpful. So private funds could definitely help with household items, cleaning supplies, things of that nature.
No, true, so true. Um, we in the last I guess it's been probably about 8-9 months now, we have increased our work in the way of advocacy, and a lot of that's been at the local level, particularly around the budget. But what is the national, what are things that we could advocate for at the national level with national level partners? What sort of changes and improvements in the veteran system can we be talking about if we were to talk to people on the Hill and say, hey, this is what we need?
Yeah, so and this was something that was really big during, NAEH, during their events they would have annually. It would always, be able to go and talk to, your Congress representative. And this is something that I know that we've, taken a part of sometimes during that time. And we always find that very important to do. We always within our team, see the importance of connecting with our representatives, different partners around the US, and just, being as active as we can be. I know that the organization has done some really great things with, making sure that we're advocating for different different needs that depending on different demographics. Like there's been work with, the LGBTQ plus community. I know that there's been a lot of advocacy with a lot of other things too as well. And I know with our program, that's something that we're always trying to figure out how can we be better at doing, and we're always talking with our regional coordinator. I know John Michelle mentioned earlier before, like there's been times where we've done different events, different panel presentations with John Kuhn. These are things where I feel like not only are we talking to a lot of other people who are doing some of the same work around the US, but we're also talking to people who are kind of new to the game. And I think that's a good part of, doing advocacy, because you can't do it all by yourself. The more people you can pull with you, the more then you can have more outlets to kind of get the information out there. Yeah.
Thank you. Linda dropped in the chat specifically about Wider Circle, but it does open a broader question. What is the interconnectedness that we do with other service providers in the area? So presumably we can go to Wider Circle to get certain supplies and other organizations. How do we interconnect with other organizations?
So Wider Circle, and I saw this in the chat. I'm glad that she asked this. So yes, we do connect with Wider Circle. We love working with Wider Circle. And it's been great. There are times though where and because they're very popular and because they're such they do such great work, sometimes they can be very overbooked, and they can have appointments that are kind of set far in advance. And for individuals who can wait for that, that's great. But sometimes you need things a little sooner. And then there occasionally you do have individuals that may not want to work with certain community partners, not just Fire Circle, but other programs. And it's veterans' choice. These are things that you help them find something that they really want to work with, and find something that that's best suited for them. So yeah, we keep a housing resource list, or excuse me, a resource guide for individuals who are looking for different things, whether it's furniture, whether it's connected with certain benefits, whether it's food pantries. And we update this every year. And with this, we keep a lot of the different community partners, community organizations that we work with, like Wider Circle, and then we're referring people to those resources. So one of the things that we do with Wider Circle is, as soon as we know that someone's going to be moving in soon, we're going ahead and we're making that appointment with them. So then hopefully by the time the person does move in or a little bit after, then they can then be able to utilize that service.
Fantastic. Well, we are coming up on 1 p.m. and this has been really informative and wonderful. So thank you. I think out of respect for folks' time, this is probably a good time to, again, Jonathan, thank you. Any last comments you would like to offer?
No, just thank you all for joining me and or joining us and letting me talk about our program. I'm really excited about all the things that we do here. And yeah, there's only going to be good things in the future. And thank you for your support in the helping the homeless veteran population.
No, thank you. My last housekeeping item would be to note that again we are doing our happy hour next Thursday, the 22nd. I know from who's on this call that everyone should have received multiple invites, probably too many from me. I apologize. But please, if you're available and are interested, please sign up. We would love to see you. This is our 30th anniversary year. This is when we get to celebrate the work we've done and look forward to the work we still have to do. So by all means, please go click on the link that you've received and sign up, or email me directly if you don't think you've seen the link, and I'll get you signed up. But I'm going to toss to Jean-Michel to offer some closing comments. Jean-Michel, over to you.
Well, thank you, Chris, and thank you so much, Jonathan, for an excellent presentation. You really brought the topic to life, and we're thankful for your leadership at the Veterans Division. I just want to mention a couple of other things. The National Coalition for Homeless Veterans that has been a partner in advocacy for us, and we're regulars at their conferences. And then there are a couple of testimonies online that we submitted to the veterans subcommittees, both at the Senate and at the House some years ago, to try to move things forward for veterans. Functional zero does remind me of the definition of ending homelessness, which is to build systems strong enough to catch people on time. So it means that the solutions come fast, and we are ending chronic homelessness, making homelessness rare, brief, and non-recurrent, as we now said in the Homeward Plan in DC, but that we continue to see people, very unfortunately, experiencing homelessness and with signs at traffic lights. I want to thank you all for being online with us this afternoon and for your support. As we always say, we could never do it without you. So thank you for being so faithful to Friendship Place. Take care.
Have a great afternoon. Take care. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.